So we already got some patch notes for Black Ops 6, which are actually pretty good reading through them. I didn't really see anything in there was like, what the heck are they doing? Like we've seen in prior betas, and mostly everything has seemed pretty positive. So we'll kind of go through that. We got global progression. They went through and they added a few more levels. You get to go from level 20 all the way up to 30. Because of that, you're going to get access to new items. Those are kind of all the various items. Not a huge deal. You'll level up, you'll get those, and then you get special rewards for the actual weekend too. That's going to include a loading screen, animated calling card, as well as the Bug Smasher blueprint for the XM4, I believe. And then you'll be able to get that. Pretty straightforward. Yeah, those are the 3 items. Weapon swap speed. So they're addressing weapon swap speed. It says, we've seen feedback about the weapon swap speeds, and we agree. We're reducing weapon drop times. That's how long it takes for the gun to go down. And this will lead to an overall increase of swap speeds. And I think this is pretty important because sometimes when you would throw stuff, what would happen is your gun would come down, and then when it comes up, it'd be kind of slow. The whole overall animations would be slow. I think this is going to be a huge improvement. Players looking for even quicker swap speeds can try out Fast Hands Strategist perk in week 2 of the beta. So we'll have access to that. Assault rifles, SMGs, shotguns, LMGs, pistols, basically everything was reduced by 50 milliseconds. And then sniper drop times reduced. So they've sped that quite a bit because just some of the stuff is just a little bit too slow. They probably looked at data and like, you know what, kind of oversight, probably needed to lower that. Movement speeds. We're making small adjustments to the base movement speeds on all weapon classes to make sure they are sitting in a good spot relative to one another. This was one of those things that was a pretty big problem. If you used an SMG, you felt like, dang, I can actually move. And every other class felt like really slow. And I know there's normally supposed to be a little bit slower when you get to a rifle versus an SMG, but this felt way too penalizing. It's like you almost didn't want to use omni movement in any way if you were using like a rifle or an LMG, which it really shouldn't be that case. We have focused on move speeds and ADS speeds, which come into play during combat engagements. Overall, we are happy with weapon class usage performance we've seen in the beta. So that means there's been a little bit of distribution with the exception of the Jackal, which they did nerf. So we'll kind of see how that part goes in a little bit. As well as upper end of movement pacing offered by SMGs. So these adjustments keep SMGs the same and generally improve other classes, which is perfect. We are mindful in speeding up the game too much and will continue to monitor this because they don't want to obviously make it broken. Because one of the feedbacks that despite all the access to the movement, people just said, I feel slower than when I'm playing Modern Warfare 2019, which just doesn't make sense, right? You have all this movement, you should be faster. Sprint in every direction, you should be faster. But no, they're going to go ahead and try and align that. And part of the problem was a lot of the weapons are just too slow compared to SMGs. Another notable change here is melee sprint speeds. We want players to feel incentivized to pull out their dedicated melee weapon as a means of map traversal. This is actually pretty huge because obviously some of these things, especially when it comes to Warzone, will be pretty important how fast you want certain movements to be. We also want to ensure melee users can catch up to their player who are sprinting with ranged weapons for those sneaky body shields and finishing moves. Interesting. We'll see how that plays out. You can see here for assault rifles, they went in and adjusted those. So about a 7% increase there, which should be noticeable. You can see there crouch speeds got a little bit improved. That's actually a bigger jump, I think, for SMGs, even though you're not probably crouching that much, but you'll come out of a slide and maybe be in a crouch. So that little bit of movement there. Adjustments to shotguns got sped up. Not huge differences. It's just movement like they had already talked about, but there's just actual data behind it so you can see how much it improved. Weapon category crouch speed, launchers that got slowed down. That's actually kind of interesting. So it's a nerf for so they want you to feel like you're actually holding a launcher, and then everything else pretty much sped up for melee weapons. So minor difference there. And then we got the Jackal. Yeah, so this one, they decreased the damage by about 10%. For the maximum damage. This pretty much happened in every beta. We come out with this weapon, it's completely broken. Every Treyarch beta, it's basically the same. It happens every time. I don't know how, but it does. And they always have to nerf it. It really would have been interesting to see what it would have looked like if they would have went through and buffed a bunch of weapons. Obviously, in this particular case, this was an extreme outlier where this is definitely the best weapon in the beta. But it would be interesting because I think this gun felt really good all the way around. So like, why not make everything else feel good all the way around? But I think this will balance it out, especially with where the TTK is at. You don't want this power creep where everything feels like it kills too fast, even though we're on the slower end in TTKs when it comes to Call of Duty. Decreased near mid, so that's the next damage drop off, and then the next one, the damage drop off got dropped as well, and then the furthest damage. So there was 4 different damage drop offs, and this actually gives us a complete damage profile for the weapon, so you can see how many shots to kill. So it'll be kind of interesting because this is our first full damage profile, and this is like actually kind of perfect, especially with the damage multipliers. This is gives us a full damage profile, which is kind of nice. A small increase to view kick strength and view kick deviation, so that's recoil, and the headshot multiplier on the barrel went from 1.2 to 1.4 to compensate for these, so that it'll still kill shots faster with the specific barrel. The Jackal's PDW intended strength is best in class handling and decent mobility, balanced by slower rate of fire compared to many of the other automatic weapons in the game. It was outperforming at medium ranges, so we've increased the damage fall off and pulled the ranges closer, along with the slight increase to recoil. Maximum damage and the CHF barrel headshot multiplier has been adjusted to maintain the same hit. That's exactly what I said. Noise. So the C9 also gets a slight buff, couple meters. Maybe their data suggested that was enough. The SWAT disabled burst fire queuing, which was queuing an additional burst if the fire input was activated at any time during the previous burst. So essentially means if you double spammed and you've double spammed faster than the fire rate, it would do another burst immediately after that burst. Because it would essentially have queued that. Minor change there. That means you should stop firing essentially when you stop firing. Rapid fire. Attachment now correctly displays the recoil con. I believe there's multiple attachments that do have real cons. They just don't have them all there in the beta. But for the vast majority of attachments, it's very minimal on the con side, just because you want to make it easy to make decisions when you're choosing attachments. And I think when we get the full version of the game and you can actually see the stat change, you'll know, okay, this is going to be 10% better and this one's 15% better. It's like we have in MW3 and we've become accustomed to, and we even had in Cold War. So maps. General. Adjusted general spawn logic to enable additional valid spawns under certain scenarios. Adjusted spawn logic across several maps with the goal of reducing high frequency of spawn flipping. And this is very specific modes. It's like it flips more than it probably should. In Dom, it should be tied more to flags. Hardpoint, the spawn look. There's probably a lot of logic that they got to figure out. I think part of the problem here is every studio that's entered the unified engine ends up going through these growing pains, because although the engine's great and it takes a lot of learnings from previous Call of Duties, you're missing out on all the learnings we had for every Treyarch COD for how they want their spawns to work. So this will just be a growing process and those get better over time. Sledgehammer Games went through the same exact thing. And I think a lot of it started from 2019. Essentially not having a good spawn system that you can actually tune and make these metrics. So I think Sledgehammer had to make theirs from scratch. I think Treyarch's making theirs from scratch to better align with how their studio like spawns, which you need a lot of data to make good spawns. It's just kind of how it works. And then they have like a big O explanation there about some of the logic behind that. So score streaks. Improve handling in general of the RCXD. Watchdog Helo, increase the base health. I guess they're getting shot down too quick. Increase cluster bomb damage radius. I guess people thought they should be getting hits. They weren't. Makes sense. Lethal equipment, thermal grenade. Reduce explosive ignition delay. So it'll just be a little bit faster when you throw it. Slight increase to the time to enter prone or supine during a slide. Slight increase to all mantle speeds. That's a W. That's one thing that we definitely talked about. Slight increase to the time before movement is allowed after landing from a dive to prone, but that should alleviate some of those clunkiness where you feel like you dive and it takes just too long to get up. this will allow in part of that. Hopefully this helps in other aspects as well. The unintended that maybe I'm not thinking of. Slight increase to dive to prone landing friction. Interesting. I guess maybe you get less velocity when you hit the ground. I don't know. Increase to friction. That means when you should stop. I'm not 100% sure. We got new movement, so new terminology. Weapon progression has been sped up. It was a little too slow in beta weekend 1, but it was slower than expected. That's the thing. They didn't want it to be that slow, especially with 40 levels. It's like, bro, it's a beta. I shouldn't have to grind 7 hours to level out one gun. It's kind of crazy. So should be better. And hopefully for the full version of the game, it's just fast because you should be able to just burn through levels. Daily challenges fixed an issue. Daily challenge countdown timer display incorrect, whatever. Beta rewards in the match will now appear in the after action report. W if you hit that level. Audio, increase player weapon firing audio volume. Additional footstep audio adjustments. Reduced audio levels for impact sound when taking damage. Resolved an issue with where shotguns could play more than the intended number of hit impact sounds. That's weird. Resolved an issue where explosion sounds would not play during normal gameplay. That's a problem. Okay, resolved an issue where some of the sounds weren't playing during the best play, and then re-enabled a previously disabled audio occlusion system on PS5. Adjustments to underlying best play logic. Okay, so you get more variety in the best play. UI, improved stability throughout various menus in HUD, addressed various localization issues. Settings, users should no longer encounter issues when switching their ADS transition timing to instant when using keyboard and mouse. Maybe there was a problem with that. No, interesting. Increase the duration of the lobby. Vote before matches. Give the players a better opportunity to participate in the vote. You got one more. Reduce the amount of camera motion in dynamic death cam. I didn't have a problem with the dynamic death cam. I did watch multiple people's videos kind of on their thoughts, on their positive negatives. I think Exclusive Ace included some feedback on this, which they probably took into account. Or maybe it's just a general feedback they had. But that was the only person I saw mention this. Stability, improved stability of Skyline, the training course, and the server side stability. Hopefully this means less packet burst. I mean, that's like gotta be the #1 complaint from the entire beta. It's just like so many lobbies just full of packet bursts. And if you're looking to stay up to date, check out the Trello board. So overall, pretty positive changes, especially when compared to other betas. Let me know what your guys' thoughts. If you're gonna be grinding out to level 30, it shouldn't be a very long grind. It should be pretty quick. See how it goes. Appreciate the support. Thank you for watching as always. Have a great day.